where they ranked as favorite because they were so good at closing out these games domestically.
Exactly, and when you look internationally with the Flash Wolves, it's always been about Karsa and Maple, and people were saying it was NL who was their old AD carry's fault, or MMD, so they felt MMD had improved, Betty was a replacement, but the same issues were present yesterday, and they have to make that a different case.
Well, they can fix some of these in the draft, and that's where we are at the moment. Kled and Malzahar banned by Gigabyte Marines, and Kennen and Ziggs to start it off for the Flash Wolves.
I think Flash Wolves are happy with this.
Yeah, we were joking that Flash Wolves might just rage ban the Kled because 957 essentially beat him on his own, beat Flash Wolves on his own, but it's actually Gigabyte Marines who throw the Kled ban out early.
I do like the Ziggs ban. So few teams play against it, and it gives your bot lane a free shove, and we've seen what the value of just pushing lanes can do, especially if you look at the potential skill disparity. Like Slay should not be on the same level as Betty and SwordArt as a unit. They're in the bottom lane.
Yeah, and these are probably the three bans a lot of teams will end up throwing against Gigabyte Marines. Kennen, Gragas, as well as Ziggs. Just because Stark, it feels like his champion pool is attackable, and Slay gets a lot of extra pressure, and it works well with any assassin Optimus wants to play if they play Ziggs.
Yeah, definitely. Here, looking at like complete meta game, you're expecting Lulu first off. The problem is the Gigabyte Marines, they don't really care too much about the meta. They might just want to go for more forward-playing picks, but turns out our champion fits both aggression and even if you go off the road, you still start with Lulu.
Whatever you want with Lulu. It's a defensive support. It also speeds you up to go in and helps you do more damage. All the things they'd want. It does put a lot of pressure on Flash Wolves to take Karma very early on here if they want to prevent the possibility of throwing one of those two mid.
No, there is one thing that may just speak against that, even if they want to leave it. Karsa has shown that on Graves, he has really good, unique jungle paths to get behind these pushing lanes early on. He did it so often in the final games versus AHQ, where he would just get level 2 ganks. The same gank Peanut used as well, and that gets a lot of the pressure gone in this early bottom lane, even if they do get the shove with these kind of range supports.
Well, let's stick to the script by the looks of things. Graves was that first lock-in, and I imagine Karma is coming through here for Flash Wolves. So Gigabyte Marines, I'm looking for an aggressive jungle here for Levi, and we'll see maybe if Optimus has something he wants to take, or if he's willing to wait.
Like, this rotation is never bad.
Nope.
Best jungler in kind of all aspects, and it's Karma as a flex pick. This used to be already a fantastic rotation, and then we saw the return of Karma mid lane, and it's just like, it's almost like you're drafting on easy mode. It's like, just standard.
Because those also fit into any team composition, so it gives you so many counter pick options. Gigabyte Marines is going to have to show something right here. The Ashe as the AD is one of the safest picks, and would not be surprised if they just pick their jungler right here and put Levi on what looks to be Lee Sin.
Yep. But also like potential Syndra here. So you know what, Levi, you're a great jungler. You're going up against Karsa. Go with a deep second tier jungler, but let's just get a favorable mid matchup here that we can pick early.
He steals it.
You can force Maple to lock it in here and maybe throw Flash Wolves off their game, because usually they don't expect to pick mid here.
Yeah, and this is actually the question of what Flash Wolves can do, because most teams that we're used to now would pick the mid laner, because the mid laner has been shown on the other side, so they don't have a chance to ban it out.
And you lose your flex right here. If you do this pick and ban pattern, you lose the flex opportunity from Karma already, and you can move into ban phase 2 with more information. The problem is Levi might get just completely screwed over.
Yeah, luckily there were no junglers banned in phase 1 and only one jungler taken. So the limiting factor here is, yes, you can ban Lee Sin and Rengar, but then Kha'Zix would be available. Or if you ban Kha'Zix and Lee Sin, well, you could still pick Elise or Rengar. So it's difficult to see him getting pinched out really hard from the meta, and you'll still get something.
Yeah, if you gotta guess, it has to be Elise and Kha'Zix, I feel, and just give him the Elise, because the Elise has a much higher cost of failure. If you don't get rolling early on, or you play an even game, it's going to get tricky.
Well, AD carry bans on the other side for Gigabyte Marines. They're going to take Varus as this first one here after early taking that Ashe.
Yeah, that's their gain, of course. We're talking about cost of Levi. Obviously, that's going to impact the other side of the coin, like Gigabyte Marines. They can squeeze the AD carry position.
Well, it feels like Flash Wolves. There's almost no way they, don't ban Kha'Zix. There it is. It's been, I think, one of Levy's best-looking champions alongside that Lee Sin, who's already a strong meta jungler. And looks like Caitlyn's going to get taken away as well. So a real standard pinch here. Flash Wolves first pick in phase 2.
Yeah, exactly. That's the force that they have, because they forced Flash Wolves into the mid lane pick. Betty will probably end up picking his AD here, something very safe like Ezreal. Not something he's played much of. If he does go with the Ezreal, only 3 games on it in the regular split.
Yeah, but we're moving more into kind of a range carry meta there. That's why he had a slight Twitch hover. We're also thinking of potentially Kog'Maw in some of the games. Like on 7.6, we saw so often Varus and Caitlyn being banned out, and then the other one, like between Ashe, Varus, and Caitlyn, pick one, ban the other 2, and really get dominance in the lanes. But then people start playing like these max range shield comps with Twitch and Kog'Maw. It got a lot trickier.
Well, looks like Gigabyte Marines gonna round out their team comp now. Sadly for either of these two teams, there's no Iburn here, so we're not going to get any of the Super Cogmog comps. Elise though is the expected jungler and will be the pick here for Levi. And we'll see what Archie wants to do for the final pick. Looks like they're missing a top laner. Gonna have to blind that matchup.
Nautilus? Just like comfort?
Yeah, it really depends on what we want to see from Stark, just because he's known for his Kennen. He's become known for his Gragas. He had a Jace game where he got off to an early start, and that was against SKT, so you can't expect much afterwards. And they had been banning a lot of Galio earlier on in MSI. Looks like he may have been adding it to his champion pool.
Yeah, is Galio like the new Nautilus? I almost feel like we can slot him in there in terms of what they provide, right?
I think so, as far as like the next class of tanks, and we always see a meta evolve throughout MSI. This is the first tournament for a lot of these teams where he's been available, save for the LPL who had him during the playoffs. And it does feel like with the wave clear as well as the team fighting he can add, he can just be one of those high-class tanks.
I like this composition from the Gigabyte Marines. They have the ability to play on side lanes, which you need if you want to face off against Flash Wolves in the mid game. But early on, they can still have those signature aggressive moves with picks, moving around the map, and kind of challenging convention here and there. It's like, you shouldn't go in here for the kill. Well, they will. Mobility here on Optimus as well. Maybe they can do the unexpected.
Yeah, and I do have to point out the Gigabyte Marines have a lot of pushing power in wave clear now with this team composition, and Flash Wolves is going to have to rely a lot on Karsa to relieve some of that pressure, because you look at the top lane with Galio, even LeBlanc or Ashe, all of that stuff can push in on Flash Wolves. So actually, even though Flash Wolves could have good team fighting later on, pretty risky early game they've now drafted themselves into.
And the thing that I find most beautiful about all of this from Gigabyte Marines is we know they play fast, loose, and very aggressive. There's actually aggressive drafting as well. Every little pick here is like, force you to pick this, force you to ban this, make sure you do a thing. They dictated a lot actually in this champ select, and as a result, they've got a really good spot for themselves.
Yeah, it's such a story for the Gigabyte Marines coming in here. Even going all the way back to the play-in group draw show where they were the pool one in that, a lot of people were saying, oh yeah, I want to be pulled into their group because I don't think the GPL is a threat. Well, they're making everyone know they absolutely are a threat, and even the analyst desk right now is saying they can't do anything, but we'll have to see if they can continue to show up.
Have to worry if Flash Wolves do fall behind, if they can pick themselves up in that mid and late game, but we are going to have an explosive early game. That is almost for certain. Gigabyte Marines like to bring you down sometimes to that level, and certainly their speed, and they've got the comp to do so.
Yeah, and then on the side of the Flash Wolves, they lose so often, but every single time we put them back on the pedestal, and like, no, you gotta watch out for these guys. They're definitely gonna do it. Even in MSI, 0-2 on the first day, and we're still rooting, or a lot of people are kind of rooting against the Gigabyte Marines here. But they're playing a very risky composition that has to go late game, kind of, because they're prone to lose their lanes early on, unless Levi gets countered on his first gank. If that all falls apart, because that's how you kind of capitalize on your pressure. You push all three lanes, your jungler is going to take the spoils of war. But if he fails somewhere, or there's a really nice early pathing from Karsa, things could get turned upside down.
Well, pretty aggressive level 1 here for Gigabyte Marines, all stacking together, but Flash Wolves getting creative here as well in the Dragon Pit. Yeah,
I like that start. Instead of doing the corner invade where you show there, they obviously stop it now because they see that what's happening on the other side. You would just shoot over Mantra Q on Karma and then invade, and the guy in the brush is guaranteed slow, as opposed to when you come peeking around the corner, he can already move out of the brush as the projectile's flying. Slight optimization there, but yeah, nobody there.
Slay actually could be in a little bit of trouble. Get out. Standing right in the corridor, not cheating to any of the brushes, but he gets away with it.
Looks like some vision down there for both teams, actually. There's wards straight in that red buff brush on the Gigabyte Marines side, and still a bit of a stack here, so maybe Gigabyte Marines moving onto these Raptors.
And both these junglers have shown the ability to go buff to buff.
Are they lane swapping in this game? Because looking at where Slay and Archie are right now, they're a minute 30 seconds. There's no way they can make it to the wave on the bottom side. So this would almost immediately push. Remember, the reason teams don't lane swap anymore so much is just because the bottom lane gets pushed in because it doesn't have the turret protection for the first 8 minutes. But maybe Galio has enough wave clear that they feel like they can prevent that from being an issue.
Yeah, or I've actually done a lot of like thinking about lane swaps because we had to, because in Europe teams do that again. Usually you would want a 3 buff if you lane swap, so you would go for the 3-man invade on the top side, right? Get those jungle contests in and then steal your buff on the right side. But the jungle is still split vertically, so I don't think this is going to work.
We talked about picking on MMD. Ignite is down. I think that might be a kill. It's going to be close. No.
He's got the beads. He's got the beads. He's healing.
That was so close right now. Now the question as well is going to be, do they want to shove that top lane, or are they going to try and freeze MMD out? Because they can still get a large experience advantage. So often, the conventional wisdom is just to shove in lane swaps because it evolved throughout a series of years. But now that we haven't seen it for a long time, you have to wonder if there's a new take on it and if teams remember what to do.
But this is so bold to lane swap against the Flash Wolves because this is a very storied team with a core that has spanned multiple seasons where lane swaps were ever so present.
Yeah, and looking at this, I mean, Levi already took the majority of Karsa's Raptors, and Karsa then got pushed out of his red buff. Why were Betty and SwordArt not pushing off? How did Levi get his red buff
how is he
on the
allowed,
weak side?
Yeah, how is he allowed to get red buff? I was like, this should not happen because this is obviously the benefit. While they're trying to figure out, hey guys, anybody remember how lane swaps work?
This is what the Gigabyte Marines do to people sometimes. They will just do something and just say, what the, and then by the time you figure it out, it's too late because this is absolutely a situation, if you remember, when you put your AD carry and top on one side, that should become the strong side of your
map. They can TP dive him.
They get vertical jungling. They could, but then they would lose the bottom lane turret. I really wonder how they're going to play this. They're going to do it.
I mean, I remember this from the lane swap days.
He's still level 1.
MMD, yeah, going to have to run out of the way. Stark going to look to tank it up. Archie actually starting it off. But MMD absolutely dead.
Because this goes back to the fundamentals of the lane swap. You split up the map completely because there's always a counter move if you don't. The problem is we have new turrets.
Exactly. We have new turrets. That bottom lane is getting shoved. MMD never expended his teleport the first time he got pushed back. So this dive, he doesn't actually lose all the minions, and the turret goes even lower. Not to mention Stark just gave up a bunch of experience in the bottom side. I love this because we have a lot to talk about.
Yeah, there's so many layers to this, so we got to go back one by one. This is an old school play where if the top laner decides not to split the map, he will get punished for it in this way. Turret drops low. Now, one thing we have to track is experience. Experience is a commodity in lane swaps that is very often overlooked.
But Krepo, it's over. They did the lane swap, and now they're done with it. The turret hasn't fallen. They've gotten first blood onto Slay. They've given Stark an experience advantage as well as Levi, and they didn't lose the turret.
But we're only looking at 200 gold, and his 200 gold lead, under the assumption that XP is neutral right now, we'll have to look at it, but there's only 200 gold lead. An 80% chip tower may not be what you want to trade for it.
Yeah, looking at the numbers more exactly, the jungle gold is actually completely even, as is the top lane gold, and both top laners are without teleport. So all this craziness is actually the dust settles. It hasn't netted much.
Yeah, let's run lane by lane. They pushed in top and bounced it, which puts Stark in control. Because he can choose to wave clear it out if he wants to, or he can let it come to him and farm under the turret. The junglers, however, have lost any sense of normal pathing and kind of patterns that they're used to seeing.
I think what this does actually benefit is Levi, because he kind of had this plan already enacted, so he's able to move around the jungle a little bit more efficiently. He's actually up on experience versus Karsa, who failed that red buff invade. So I think it's a small win, but those are the wins. Yeah,
definitely for Levi, having the advantage on Karsa and how well he can push that. As much as the lane swaps caught Flash Wolves by surprise, and there was a lot of weird outcomes. The fact that MMT didn't teleport back to the turret the first time when he was level 1 is pretty critical, because if he would have been denied that large wave of minions, that's when you really would have seen the large advantages come through.
Yeah, and he also had the flexibility. If he ran top with TP and he saw only one in the bottom, he would be the one diving bot side. So it's very important that also was a possibility for them. But now Karsa's in the river. He is getting out leveled as Graves. Graves is such a fast clearing jungler that can really have one big punch early on. So that has been negated. But on the other side of the coin, Betty got his tier for free, because freaking bases happen very often in lane swaps, so you can get a tier unpunished.
Ooh, still level disadvantage, but the Cocoon's going to miss, and Karsa, Storm Raider surging out. There's Levi going to be forced to flash his bottom lane action there as well. Low on that side of Stark actually looked to dive the turret. He's going to have to flash out as well. Maple almost picking up 2 kills under his own turret there.
Yeah, eagerness right there from Gigabyte Marines. Stark, I thought he would maybe try a flash taunt or something, but note the cleanse on Maple did expend both summoners. And oh, this could be dangerous for Karsa.
2 levels up. Optimus, though, just lands the chain, not going to get the kill. Zones him off the honey fruit, and we're going to calm things down a bit.
Really want to keep him out of river. It's like, no, this is where your pathing ends. You're not allowed to invade. I wonder if that was a failed Cocoon predict or just a simple miss right there. Thinking that Karsa should be scared on the 4v5.
Yeah.
He's going to dash backwards, eat the Cocoon. I'm going to get every highlight reel of MSI here. That's what Levi was thinking. And then Karsa just fought him.
Karsa just fought him and then ended up, I believe, dashing in for closer range. Graves still packs a big punch if the Cocoon doesn't land, so has that outplay right there.
Now, Gigabyte Marines, they're using this push in the mid lane that we were talking about in champs, like these two pushing lanes to free up Optimus, pair him with the jungler, and then go for either an invade or bot lane dive pressure here as well.
Yeah, looks like the plan still being enacted. Actually, a steal coming out for maybe Optimus here. Levi there to try and smite away, but they do want to give it to the mid lane if they can. Optimus will secure it, getting Scuttle as well. And again, the plan is working. It started differently, but the core is the same.
Support suffers so much in lane swaps because they're the ones that have to like pick up the slack or help their junglers all the time. So they're very on the level. In a LeBlanc composition, lane swaps are kind of beneficial for that. You get longer lanes much earlier, and you have that juicy little target that still gets you all the gold right there. So it's much trickier to play these range supports in lane swaps for that exact reason.
Yeah, and that aside, we also do have the map pressure advantage from pushing lanes still factored in.
Yeah.
It's not like Flash will suddenly get wave clear as soon as they hit level 5. They're still pressured right here, and the fact that Levi's ahead, the fact that they have 2 blue buffs to work with, look for them to try and make roam plays, because every time they push, they get an opportunity. And the more times they try this and fail, the better it will be for Flash Wolves. But this is the dangerous part in the game for the Flash Wolves.
Yeah, or even in failing so, even if they don't capitalize on Gigabyte Marines, they disappear into Fog of War, and that adds pressure. We don't see it on the map here, but every time it may be an AD carry dropping a CS or 2, saying, you know what, I don't know where she is, LeBlanc, let's back off. Shen not fully pushing on his wave. It's like all these little things that you add by disappearing into Fog of War as a mid laner. That's why every single mid laner you talk to speaks to you about mid-prio, is what they call it.
Well, priority is certainly being good for Optimus after all of the events of this early game, but just the 1 kill and a slight gold lead for Gigabyte Marines, so nothing crazy just yet, but this can snowball pretty quickly out of control. And Gigabyte Marines, they may look controlled now, but things will open up quickly if they see opportunities.
Yeah, and you can see even Betty just using his ultimate now, trying his best not to get shoved in, trying to get and maintain that river priority, because if we actually look at the bottom side river, that is where Flash Wolves have it. They got the control ward in that brush, and the other brush, they also have another control ward. That even goes back to earlier where Karsa was trying to fight over that. That's where Flash Wolves wants their control.
That has been their strength as well, domestically, where they just play a lot of bot side vision, then they move that forward into the enemy jungle, and they keep protecting it. Flash was really good at just not only placing the vision, but protecting it, and then taking a lot of dragons. Problem is they're playing against Ashe Lulu, which is a lane that will spike really hard on level 6. Like, Karma gets minor upgrades. Ezreal is still sitting on the tier, and a level 6 timing is usually when you run into upgraded items. But that doesn't matter because we're fighting top side.
Yeah, TP gank here. Taunt's going to start it up. MMD getting good up as well. Knocked him with a Johnson punch. And Optimus going to swoop in for the kill. Locked him down with a chain and grabs it.
That dive, they made it look so easy. But again, when they do that, because of the lane swap early, the first turret still goes over to the Flash Wolves. They burn, teleport, and show jungler in the top lane. Still goes to show the level of fear that MMD is going to be under for the rest of this game, because Galio gets so much innate tankiness, they can easily do that.
Yeah, the Gigabyte Marines, they learned from this tournament as well. How do you beat the Flash Wolves? You attack MMD in that top lane. This vision was already set up, so the Gigabyte Marines, they say, you know what, we'll play around our strong side. We're not going to contest that vision, lose time to get an advantage there. Yes, we might lose the bottom side turret and dragon, but they're just capitalizing everything around the top side of the map.
That is the trade they make, though. Optimus fighting Maple, but we are fine. Just clears out that wave pretty quickly. Ocean Drake up for Flash Wolves will be nice to them, particularly if they are wanting to play pretty long laning phase here. But the map's going to start to open up more, and I'm looking at Optimus here. He's already got his revolver. His first item at least will be a Gunblade. This is the man to look for to pressure those Stargraves and open the map up for Gigabyte Marines.
Yeah, and Ocean's not going to help you much.
No.
Regen over time when you're playing against the pick comp, that is, yeah, yes, you got a dragon, but in terms of just raw, what it does for you, not the big
Exactly. Pick comp, not poke comp is what Gigabyte Marines are playing right now. So very rarely are they actually going to harass someone down. It's all about getting the jump on them, which we saw they can do with LeBlanc, Elise, and Galio up in the top side. So keep tracking where the vision is going, because it seems like Gigabyte Marines, and we have stats to back this up, Archie doesn't ward very much. They do not play that game, whereas Flash Wolves is one of the best in that game. That's one of the reasons a lot of people have them highly powering coming in, because they completely starve you on vision. The number of control wards they buy, they use them more as sweepers than other teams do. They'll place one in their jungle, they'll place one in the river, and then they'll place it forward, all the while clearing out wards.
Yeah, Levi might actually fall victim to exactly that right now.
Play starting here. They're trying to get out. Arrow going to force SwordArt splash. Optimus the Karsa fighting on the other side. Betty in aggressively, but Karsa gets damaged back down onto the LeBlanc. Here's MMD arriving with the stand united. But Galio is going to come down to the MMD. Knocked up by the ulti and now forced to flush the wall. Starkto flash torn in. Lulu ultimate just as punch. MMD goes down. SwordArt going to try and lock one more, but Optimus has caught the support, and that's yet another kill. Gigabyte Marines answer 2 clean ones.
Such a good fight for Gigabyte Marines, but that's exactly the wrong direction to go when the Galio comes in. You always wonder, how is Galio going to hit someone with his ultimate? Well, if MMD taunts in as it's coming down.
If you dive in, he's going to be able to protect it. That's why Galio is also a good pick into Shen, actually. If you look at the tank meta, he can jump lanes, especially later on. If you move into the 1-3-1 composition, Galio can always, from a side lane, protect mid. And you don't need to protect the other side lane. So when LeBlanc moves to the side lane, this will actually be very advantageous for Gigabyte Marines, especially since he is so far ahead.
And the ironic thing about it is Flash Wolves did that on Gigabyte Marines side of the map. When it felt like they needed to play defense and try and get the vision control, they did get the vision control, but they fumble the execution as they go for the fight.
But they win out so often, and that's their story. They're so practiced in getting these wards down and then defending the fog of war. But as they get up against stronger oppositions here internationally, they start suffering, because domestically these plays always work for them. Look, so many teams face check right here and they get punished. Like SwordArt with the pincer. Gigabyte Marines, they don't yield, they just go for the fight.
Absolutely, and you can see Optimus pushing a lot of cooldowns out of Karsa early on in this fight, but no one accounts for the Galio. We get to see him coming from across the map to knock down MMD, and that just sets up the rest of the fight. Watch the skill shot accuracy as well from Optimus down the stretch, just making sure, getting the chain, oh actually, yep, gets the chain onto SwordArt, even though SwordArt had a chain elsewhere.
I was just watching Stark here. I'm loving this man in this tournament. He's playing the Galio, coming in, saving his team, solo killing MVP candidates from North America. Like, this guy, he's everywhere.
And now 3,000 gold is a real lead for Gigabyte Marines, and pretty early on into this one as well. Still under 14 minutes. Optimus not quite with this teleport back up, but it's close. Looking to push this wave out, and we talk about the pressure. Double TP plus a Galio ulti is a lot of mana they can play with.
But just the manner. So you come in, you're a team that is known to do the unexpected. You're going up against a team that routinely visited, you know, MSI, World Finals. What are you gonna do? Hit him with the lane swap, baby. I'll out macro you in an aggressive way, and they just do it. It's just so much fun to watch.
And we have to note the pressure is so much on Flash Wolves right now to respond.
Karsa! Oh, there's the arrow! That's an Archie able to get the kill on the other side! Beautiful combo by Gigabyte Marines.
And Flash Wolves is completely on the back foot. How can they survive this? Here comes Gigabyte Marines again.
Dive coming in. There it is from start. Johnson's punch knocks up MMD. Damage is there from Winds of War, and Slay does exactly that.
Yes.
How many teams do Gigabyte Marines have to do this to before people are ready for it?
Four. I don't
know. It. Or is it just something intrinsic with their playstyle? They make so many plays, and they're always forcing you to respond.
And they're decisive. And oftentimes these plays will fail. But the beauty of it is, the next time they make the play, it's as if that failure never happened. They just keep committing for it over and over and over here. And they learn in between games.
And the thing is, the issue in that style of play comes from when you make those mistakes and it doesn't work out. But this one worked out.
Yeah, really good pick attempt. And again, it's this pushing lanes. Optimus from the top side moves into the enemy jungle. They follow up with the arrow. They're all in synergy, so really good target selection right there. And this Galio pickup really is the MVP of this game.
But then here you also have Flash Wolves. They didn't want to concede this turret. MMD teleported in before they had wave clear, before Maple was there. It was a bad TP to come into that turret. They needed to concede that turret.
Yeah, the only member of Flash Wolves that was respecting the situation was Maple, and that's why he was tragically so late, because he was safe pathing away from this LeBlanc.
Well, Optimus now just clearing outside of teleport back up and ready. Level 11 for her as well, and actually went Abyssal Scepter after the Revolver. So I'm still expecting a Gunblade second, but respects the magic damage it's on Flash Wolves. Wants a little bit more punch as well when she goes in for those 1v1, 1v2 trades. Other than that, Slade is getting things started. Mid-turret down for Gigabyte Marines is looking good. And again, when these plays don't work out in kind of a chain, they fall behind, and that's where Gigabyte Marines look weak. When they can't play defensive macro, their offensive macro is actually awesome.
Yeah, you can see it right here. We have Stark pushing up the bottom lane, goes in for a little ward on Gromp. They're challenging these control wards that Jatt was talking about earlier. The Flash Wolves, they have to continuously start placing them more defensively, shrinking the area of vision that they're playing with, and thus becoming much more predictable for the Marines to pick apart.
Exactly, and Flash Wolves has got to find some way out of this 1-3-1. They're trying to match, but they're down 3,500 gold at 16 minutes. and Gigabyte Marines have the roam potential and everything. Not to mention, they actually have both teleports up right now, so they can absolutely make a double TP play. You got to be so careful as Flash Wolves now to keep from falling even further behind.
Yeah, and the mobility on this LeBlanc pick also showing its value. Karsa is essentially behind Optimus in the side lane. If that's any other pick, you collapse with the Ryze ultimate and you get him. And he is just so mobile, and despite drawing the pressure topside, nothing really comes from it, so Gigabyte Marines, they cross-map with the Dragon.
And we have to look at Karsa here, I think, but...
Yes, that's exactly what I was going to talk about. When's the last time you saw Karsa down 50 CS in 17 minutes? This is unthinkable. Even in the Graves versus Elise matchup right now, Levi is so far ahead of him, and I know the jungle CS is inflated and deflated in different ways, but Graves is almost always well ahead of his opposition.
Yeah, let's look at the other metrics then, though. He's full 2 levels ahead right now.
He's dead, actually. That's maybe the other metric. No Maple going to come in to defend of it. Gigabyte Marine's going to get a turret out of it.
Yeah, it's the 1-3-1. Even though Optimus didn't get the kill right there, 2 guys now recalling. Marines make a play on the other side of the map.
Exactly. Whenever you see 1-3-1, you don't need to look at what's happening on your screen. It's in the minimap in the other lanes. Every action prompts a response somewhere else, and now the Marines rotating to the bottom side. Flash was desperate for wave clear.
Well, strong right now. Optimus in mid lane. They can collapse very quickly on this. Stark going to take a few turret hits. There's Maple actually getting chunked up by Optimus. The second chain lands from the Mimic, but Maple pretty tanky.
Yeah, he went from top to mid to cover that lane, pushes it up again, disappears, and is now putting flanking pressure on that bot lane turret. So the 1-3-1 now moves into a 5-man strong because Gigabyte Marines, they're ahead.
Love the sweeper choice there as well from Optimus, just again continuing the theme of going invisible and playing pressure in the side lanes. Great control on the left that Optimus is just next to now as well. And this is tough for Flash Wolves. They might get dove, they might get poked, and their turret's probably dead no matter what they do.
Yeah, pressure is relentless. Flash Wolves in very real danger of going down 0-3 at the MSI 2017 group stage.
But if they ever fight their way out, it is here. They're playing versus a big comp in a team fight scenario, and this is where they actually are strong. So there's the potential
they go
for victory.
Going forward instead, Optimus dives straight in. Galio ultimate into the back of the team! Knocks up Karsa and Betty, and now the team's going to move forward, but Stark could be too far forward. Turret down, the wild growth protects the Galio. Stark back in with a punch. Now thinks better of it, and that's all they needed. They just needed the turret.
Yeah, Galio just needs to zone the team away. Good usage of the ultimate right there. Not so sure about that last little dash in from Galio, but everything else was exactly what they needed.
Zoning dashes, you know, just put the respect down. No, but I actually really love that interaction that you highlighted there, Jatt. Like, the LeBlanc goes in, Galio casts ulti to the original location, LeBlanc jumps back. That way, you get the LeBlanc, you get the Galio deep in the fight, but nobody has to wait there for him, so you can actually blink backwards. So that's a really nice combination.
And I really have to call out Stark right here, because if we look at the start of the tournament, they were banning Galio in their matchups, and this is something they have clearly picked up throughout, and they're playing it quite well.
This is a 1v4 that's about to start, I think. Karma rotating up as well. SwordArt gonna lock him down the roof, gets a couple taunts. Might take a little while, but he looks pretty dead. Starky's gonna finally fall.
The map wasn't set up for the cross map.
Yeah,
this is actually really good play by Flash Wolves because there is no reaction from Gigabyte Marines because they were still running back from base here, and this shows a little bit of greed in their offensive.
Exactly. When we talk about 1-3-1s, it's usually one person in top lane, 3 people in another lane, 1 person in a third. And the reason it works is anywhere the opponent tries to send more than the number that is up there, the other side will push. So that's exactly what Krepo was just talking about. Everyone else was in a recall pattern back in base. Stark allowed Flash Wolves to commit without a punish, and that's why they got their first kill of the game.
Well, Mimic Chain's going to force a flash out of MMD. Archie and Optimus going to throw a bit more extra poke in there. The Flash Wolves just have to play defensive for a little while longer, still significantly down in gold.
But if you keep the map this big, you can continuously steal away like little things like jungle camps, a little bit of vision, extra CS here and there. That's why the gold lead is honestly so big right now. Suddenly we're looking at 5,000.
Maple's out, does use the run move to get out. Oh, arrow throwing in as well. Doesn't quite clip either Karsa or the mid laner there from Flash Wolves, but looks like maybe top side control being taken by Gigabyte Marines. So even though it's early, we probably have to think about Baron as well.
Yeah, exactly. Teleport attempt from Optimus to try and pick off. Maple couldn't quite get there fast enough for the realm warp, but now they try and move their vision upwards towards Baron.
The problem is both TPs are down. So this is just like, it's really awkward to play bot side push with Galio when you can't actually TP and you have that ultimate, but it only spans, I think it goes to like the mid lane right now. So you can't really help defend that vision that you were talking about just deep in the jungle. So this may slow down the game enough for Flash Wolves to fight their way in just a little bit.
Yeah, and it's, again, Flash Wolves hope that they could maybe get a 5v5 at the Baron area where they're not getting picked off. And that's the biggest danger right here. And we really have to track how well Flash Wolves can keep this side of the jungle lit up because anyone is there without their team. Cocoon flies in, LeBlanc chain comes in, and that's basically Baron from there because the pick threat is so strong.
It's tough though. Gigabyte Marines do have an additional sweeper in that mid lane that we noticed earlier, and the map is completely dark right now.
It's been dark for a while.
Ooh, that's a catch move in a SwordArt. There's a kill. Galio coming in as well. That's going to force Karsa to get out of there.
And that's just when you have to gamble. You know, this team, you can see patterns if you watch VODs. Like, do they bait often? Do they not? But like, how do you know what the Gigabyte Marines are going to do against you right here? There's actually extreme patience. Like, they could have taken the Baron down to 20%. You walk in, you steal, you're a hero. Turns out they never even started it.
How do you know? This is like their 18th game at MSI.
Yeah.
They've been doing this for a while. Start paying attention. But there's also not much Flash Wolves can do in this situation. The risk is so high when you're up against this type of CC chaining pick composition.
Looks like they made Baron a little too angry. Optimus on a ward though, so it should be okay. A couple of them took too much damage. Flash Wolves are able to get wards continually in there, and looks like MMD's reversing that bottom side as well. So pressure is alleviated for now, but Gigabyte Marines will reset and go straight back to it.
Yeah, the longer you wait in that pit, the waves will eventually bounce. Any wave that pushes into a structure will bounce and go the other direction eventually. And that's what's happening right now. So now the Gigabyte Marines, they want to go fix that. Luckily for them, a dragon is spawning, so they kind of pick something up along the way. Yeah,
and when we do keep a lot of praise on Gigabyte Marines, we also have to have a healthy amount of skepticism. Their overall macro play, even though they make so many early plays, hasn't shown to be completely solid. So there's still a danger that with this team composition, Flash Wolves can scale up, that they can get more items on Ryze, they can get the right team fights and still win the game. Because 6,000 gold is nice now, but if they don't extend this before 35, before 40 minutes, it can very well turn around.
Yeah, because pickups are generally always on the timer. Their strength lines in the early game and their dominance, and MMD is feeling just exactly that.
Pops, and that's an easy pick. I mean, LeBlanc Elise is good at the best of times. Gunblade's going to make that even easier.
Luckily, it's still pick o'clock for Gigabyte Marines, so they got a little bit of time yet.
What time is it? 5 past picking Centrum here. Holy moly, Flash Wolves, they're down 6,000 gold. Down their Shen. He has an ulti to enter the fight. Gigabyte Marines, while their macro was not impeccable in the previous games that we've seen, I'm actually very impressed with how they've been closing this particular game.
Even from the early game, just daring Flash Wolves to play the lane swap game out of nowhere. Who expected that to happen? They're coming into every game with a plan.
Well, looks like LeBlanc getting bottom lane pushed out. Optimus not quite there with the TP just yet, but Stark does have it. So here's the setup again. Just creating pressure in every single lane. Find picks if you can get him, and maybe Karsa's the next victim. Betty shifts out from under the cocoon. Galio is coming in from a LeBlanc Mimic. That was sick. Flash taunt, SwordArt dead. Betty gonna get knocked up there as well. And now the fight's continuing. Mabel gonna try and dish out DPS. Stark a little too far forward. Does go down to MMD.
I'm still a little shocked that you can Galio ult the LeBlanc Mimic. But
she's technically a clone.
It's a clone.
I noticed
Clones
that.
are real people too, apparently, for Stark. But even then, he then overcommits on the turf. But they're going to try and keep pushing forward.
Damage is still there. Optimus is one little Q on the Karsa, and that might be almost all his health. Flash taunt. Fire Slay could be the kill. Needs to take a little bit more, and there's Betty with the finishing blow. Optimus now has to flash out as well. Betty flashes in for the shutdown, and this is where it might all unravel. Maple realm warping out of the way, gets over to the minions and flashes out, but Karsa still there. Betty moving the skill shots in. He's going to try and take it down. He does get the kill, but Betty seals the triple kill.
Yeah, getting that gold on Betty is actually very crucial when Gigabyte Marines stick around without their tank. They are very vulnerable to a forward-moving team fight.
Well, they're actually moving to Baron Ashe, but that may not be the wisest of decisions with Star coming in the mid lane. They see the teleport and they back off. But we were talking the entire game about how Gigabyte Marines want to keep the map big, open, split on multiple lanes. Well, right here we see a scenario where that is not the case, and despite a really large gold lead, we see exactly why. Because now we're getting later in the game, the Flash Wolves, their team fight is so much stronger.
Feels like they might have got a bit impatient. Unfortunately, now down one of their globals, actually down now two. They're looking for a pick here in the top lane. TP coming in as well. Mabel going to get chunked out. Stark should taunt him down, but the TP's going to come in safe. MMD does get the taunt down onto Optimus, and that's going to stop TPS for a while. Mabel now going to turn it back around, and Flash Wolves here first. Optimus really wants to kill, but he's not going to get it. MMD grabs another. Stark goes down as well.
And this is absolutely massive for the game. A failed pick, and then can mean actually that Flash Wolves can base, get full HP, move out, and contest his Nashor, forcing another 5v5.
Failed TP pick, but we're going to watch the extension of this 4v4 that happened. Remember, it's a top laner for a support. So Flash Wolves do have the upper hand in this fight. They also get the flash pick from the Shen onto the AD carry of Gigabyte Marines, and from that point, the threats are mostly eliminated, so Flash Wolves can just fly forward onto him. Levi does pick up a kill at the end, but it's all too late.
Yeah, you need really good joint target selection if you're playing a pick composition in teamfights later in the game. Especially when you're going up against both an Ezreal and a Ryze who scale so incredibly well in terms of sustained damage output in these teamfights.
Yeah, but we got to see the failed pick in the top lane as well, which is, I think, is the more worrying thing for Gigabyte Marines when they are forcing a 2v2 where they have the jump. They had about 3 seconds on Maple before the teleport completed, and they still didn't have the damage with their 2 soul laners to take him down. That's a big worry, because those are the types of fights that they're going to try and orchestrate to get the win, because they're already losing team fights.
Well, they have Flash Wolves have wrested control back of the game after some aggressive move by Gigabyte Marines and just good reactions there from Flash Wolves. Gold still up though for Gigabyte Marines, but they don't have as much of an advantage to play with. It does feel like the most important thing though is the map has settled back down into a neutral position, and you think looking at these two teams, Flash Wolves should have an edge there.
Very neutral, especially if you look at that bottom lane. The longer this game goes, like the shorter the edge comes that Stark has in that lane, right? He was pushing in, disappearing every single time. But right now, MMD, he survived the brutal beating from the early game. He's actually keeping it quite neutral in that lane.
Yeah, and we need to keep track of the gold as well as the game clock. 6,000 gold was the lead at 24 minutes. It's only about 4,500 gold now, as long as I'm doing math. 5,000 gold. Even then, less than 6,000. And the later the game goes, the lower the percentage gold lead is for a Flash Wolves composition that just needs to scale. So they've actually made it through the most dangerous part of the game.
Yeah, but we're looking at soul laner damage output as well, but Levi has gone full AP at least. That is something that you're not fully used to seeing. It falls off in the late game, but if he finds one single pick by a Ryze or Ezreal that does not get QSS or Mikhail's, then, which they don't have, we actually may just see a big opening in the game.
Yeah. Getting chased down now, Levi, bit of trouble, but Flash Wolves just making sure they have sole control of the vision around the Baron area. Again, Global's all being done except for Stark's ulti. Does make this a little tricky. Gigabyte Marines never want to shy away from a fight. Here's Optimus diving in, arrow hits on the MMD. Chang in a fighting cocoon, piles in. Damage is pretty good to Galio, gonna get the knock up just in time. Shut down and now 5v4 Stark. Flash 3-man taunt in, SwordArt low. Knock up there from the Wild Grove, but Slay needs to kind of run Benny, trying to do what he can, but he gets shut down by Slay.
Still a big-time fight from Gigabyte Marines. They focus MMD before Flash Wolves was ready to come into the fight.
Yeah, Optimus comes with the flank, and immediately Flash Wolves realize we gotta get the hell out of dodge, and then it's a perfect arrow from Slay, because even though the tank took it, the follow-up cocoon and the damage from this AP Elise was enough to get him low enough, and then the Galio comes in. Like, everybody contributed to this fight, and it was really good target selection from Gigabyte Marines.
Betty finishing off Slay at the very tail end of that fight, however, does prevent a lot of the advantages that the Marines can take from that fight. They push up mid, the wave actually gets cleared. Optimus was pushing outside. That also gets stopped. So everything was good, except they were not able to capitalize after the fight.
Yeah, so they need to take their consolation prize, which is this Ocean Dragon, and they'll put them on 3 Drakes, which means if they actually contest Elder later on, they can keep the map open again. But if you see that fight, just look at the amount of damage, even on the main tank of this composition. If Maple and Betty can't use the time that MMD spends soaking efficiently and give reactionary damage, they will just get murdered in these fights.
Yeah, it looked like Slay actually got caught by a Graves Q as well throughout all of that. Shen being down right now is big.
Optimus, good little pick attempt there onto SwordArt. Shen ulti is going to save his life, but Optimus at least forces that cooldown. And again, the TP is almost coming back up here. Optimus, I feel like Gigabyte Marines, this didn't slow it down enough to get all their cooldowns back, but at least sitting back in this situation, they can start to apply a bit more global pressure. Sure, the map isn't as advantage for them as it was, but if they're sticking to the 1-3-1 plan, this is a pretty good time to try and execute, and we've also shown that, that they can also team fight with his comp. I mean, that Shen died with his flash up. That was an insane amount of CC.
Exactly. Huge amount of CC chaining allows you to have everyone to free hit, and also wait for Slay to complete Infinity Edge, because that's going to be a huge power spike for Ashe. He is empowered by Lulu. Maple, barely making it away.
Archie goes for the flash bomb up right there. Really good positioning in the Ryze ultimate. Mid lane is actually uncontested right now, so there's a little bit of counter pressure from the Flash Wolves. And the map is tiny again. This means Flash Wolves are doing what they can to resist this gold lead. The Gigabyte Marines are not playing on their bottom lane anymore.
Yeah, and yesterday Flash Wolves were the victim of having a lead and not being able to close a game around Baron against G2 eSports. One thing that G2 did so well against Flash Wolves was continually push the mid lane to limit the number of options of for the enemy to get flanks on them. And that's kind of what Flash Wolves is doing now. They're keeping their mid lane fairly well pushed up because you actually don't want to play in this jungle right now where Gigabyte Marines are controlling the map. If you can limit your entrances to mid lane, to river, that's a more reasonable area to control.
Diving again, Karsa, the target, but arrow hits onto Karsa still. Levi way too far forward though. Galio is going to help him repel up. Lots of cute interactions here.
They got to get out of here.
Yeah, to build on that.
Jen trying to fight.
Here's the TP back from Flash Wolves, though. Looking to cut up the backline. Oh, Swatter's putting dashes out. Karsa going to get another big taunt. Betty can't shift that in time to still get CC, but Gigabyte Marines needs to kill the frontline. MMD does go down to the knockout of Justice Punch Slay. So much damage is now stuck. He's going to get aggressive with the damage reductions help there from the Duran, but Betty still moving forward, just not quite enough, and there's a redemption to reset it all for Flash Wolves. 2-1 trade, and now more. Betty looks for the last kill, needs a Q, doesn't land at Maple. Now the next contender, and there's the double he wanted.
Yeah, the Marines are not reading these team fights well enough to get a single pick, and there is this slight step forward that immediately gets punished by the Flash Wolves.
There has to be an in and an out, and that is where Karma can shine, tasting the whole team as soon as the fight begins to turn. That's the break Flash Wolves was waiting for. They get enough kills, they can turn straight to Baron.
Yeah, this was the animal style in and out, you know, way too far. They didn't retreat in time, and it cost them the Baron Dash. And again, when it all started, Stark was pathing to the bottom lane. He was going for the macro play to set up that side lane, and suddenly Marines, they just pulled the trigger for no apparent reason, because Flash was doing such a great job contesting the jungle entrances that Jatt was talking about earlier.
Yeah, right here, you can see Gigabyte Marines use so many cooldowns onto Levi. Lulu ult and Galio ult down, yet they continue to fight afterwards. Right now, though, they're going to go for Maple.
Oh, good. Double the stop forward. Maple, gunbladed up. Snare is going to land, and that's another good arrow, but it hits MMD. Stench United may have just saved his mid laner. Levi still chasing. There's another flash on Maple. All right, dead this time. Gonna lose the Baron buff and didn't get the mid turret. That's what he was staying for.
Yeah, greedy play by Maple there for his first death of the game. Really delays what Flash Wolves want to do. With the Baron buff, they wanted to just group up as 5 and start powering down some turrets, but that has to go on hold.
Yeah, but again, the reaction from the Marines is grouping up themselves. They really don't seem to be committing to these side lanes. And 1-3-1 is over. It's just Air and Fiesta here, and that really plays into the Flash Wolves' favor.
Well, the main game for them is fight. It's just the side lanes, that's the other one. Now Optimus moving in, tries to let them Betty stuck so aggressively far forward as Gigabyte Marines kind of zoning him off this turn. MMD with a good taunt though onto Levi.
Levi's down!
Take him down. Just not enough here. There's another kill. Karsa able to get that. Optimus forced to flash, and now Slay completely got out of position. Just going to get slowed down a little bit by SwordArt. Might make it out alive, but Optimus busy farming Raptors on the top end of the fight, and Betty is still chasing them.
That's the thing with this LeBlanc Galio combo in the late game. In this scenario, it looks pretty from afar, but it's a far from beautiful when you look at the details, because as they're shoving it forward, there's just too much damage on the side of Flash Wolves. They're always reacting and just killing people. Levi just drops like a fly. AP Elise needs to instantly one-shot somebody, or she doesn't really contribute too much to the fight.
Yeah, AP Elise definitely not a 5v5 team fighting champion, and that seems to be how Levi is trying to play her in this instance, and no one is getting to Betty in these fights. And you're really seeing, even without Ryze, Betty was still packing a big punch, but Flash Wolves is going for it all right now. They have the Baron buff.
Yeah, redemption again. Baron's still up for about a minute and a half, so they're going to break mid. Should be able to get this in him down as well. All 5 of Gigabyte Marines are up, so Flash Wolves can use a bit more caution. Good block, I think, from MMD, and there's the Ryze. Realm more power. Oh, the stun, not enough. Realm just in time.
Got hit Ryze.
Yeah, you have to interrupt Ryze.
If you get hit, you still get transported. If the conductor gets hit, nobody's driving.
Well, Conductor Maple avoids the stun, and we'll watch this dive again. Just kind of an overreach here for Gigabyte Marine.
It was a 5v4, so they wanted to be confident, and then Optimus saw an opportunity to get onto Betty, but they don't have the damage to lock him down. Starkman goes back in, but there's split focus. Are you diving past the turret, or are you killing the turret? Because no one really has their mind made up, and by the time they do decide to run away, Levi is already dead.
Yeah, he took 4 turret shots when there was no minions available, so the backdoor bonus was online. Turret does a hell of damage, so Flash Wolves, they made a macro play. Clear minions first, kite back, and then deal with frontline. If we're winning, we're winning. If not, we disengage, and that's what they did right there. So we have to commend them for how they played with those control wards in their own jungle for so long, and how now they're keeping the map so tiny, combating the strengths that the Marines were bringing in the early game.
And we look now, 36 minutes through this game. Jatt mentioned that gold percentage changes as the game moves on. Gold is even now, so we don't even have to worry about the lead diminishing that they had before. The game is actually just back to neutral.
And then there's also gold efficiency in terms of item builds and champions.
And that's where Flash Wolves come out ahead now, because they were able to play straight up team fights 4,000 to 5,000 gold down. Now that the gold is even, they have a large advantage in team fights as long as they don't get picked off. So the more that they can stay together and keep the map small, as they have been able to do for the past 10 minutes or so, the better it becomes for Flash Wolves, who were in danger of falling down 0-3, still are in danger, but have recovered a fair bit.
MMD also getting things started in the top lane for the Flash Wolves, has TP and ulti ready. It looks like Elder Dragon is the next thing on the menu. Again, Flash Wolves just able to play it patiently here, and Optimus has been caught out here potentially.
Yeah, he's trying to match his side lane with MMD. It's really important that the Flash Wolves get access to this objective really before Nashor spawns, because otherwise they have to really dance between two objectives. If they can just force another fight here, they want that.
If Levi can steal this or win a fight here, it would be huge for him, but this is right for Flash Wolves. Don't
Repels out. Galio ulti going to try and cut them off, but it's pretty defensive looking. Gigabyte Marines might just still fight it, but MMD is real tanky.
This is what Flash Wolves want, though. The Elder Drake does not take them very low, and the more they can just poke 5v5 right here, the more advantage they become.
I think Gigabyte Marines might have given it up already. Elder Dragon still taking aggro, so they can go back onto it. Gigabyte Marines, they don't want to concede, but they might have to. Maple maybe caught here. Optimus looking for the snare down. Snot's not going to land. MMD able to peel it off and take down Optimus. And now Betty just firing away into Cocoon, but Stark going to get chased out of the pit. Elder Dragon finally resets, but the catches are too many. Archie goes down to Maple after a realm warp. There's another kill, so the double picked up for Ryze. And now Maple chased down with a GA, gonna lose it, and gonna lose his second life.
Yeah, the Flash Wolves really understood the ebbs and flow of this Dragon contest, and they dance around beautifully around the pressure, never allowing the Gigabyte Marines to land those consecutive CCs and picking them off.
Yeah, just look at the shields that went onto Maple when Optimus tried to do that pick. Seraph's Embrace, plus an empowered Karma Shield, plus a Locket. Flash was gonna take the game.
Yeah, it looks like they're just gonna push through for the win here. 40 seconds to Levi, 20 seconds to everybody else. Stark, sorry, trying to do what he can, but just finding MMD, who's kind of buying time for the rest of his team. There's one Nexus turret down. Stark gonna get taunted up, and he's got some damage reductions. He flashes out of the way, but Flash Wolves gonna take him down, complete the ace, and take down the Nexus. Flash Wolves finally on the board here at MSI.
Wolves find their first win of the group stage, so trying to recapture some of that success they had earlier in the tournament. Gigabyte Marines, that was close.
That was close, and as a neutral spectator, what this means for the tournament is even better. It's just Flash Wolves, they're back in the race. The Marines, they give us another great game with another different way to play League of Legends.
High lane swap early. Ult in on a LeBlanc clone with Galio.
I mean, that couldn't quite close. That was some really cool stuff happening in that game. But I just have to feel as controlled as Flash Wolves played the back end of the game and as well as they defended, I just feel that the Gigabyte Marines abandoned the plan halfway through. Yeah, they abandoned, and that's kind of what people sometimes perceive as the boring part of League. The mistake you don't really see on the map. The fact that they had the wrong lane assignment is actually what costs them the mid game. If they have the wrong people in the wrong lanes, that's where they make the mistake. Galio should always be pushing the bottom lane or the LeBlanc, somebody side lane pressure, split them up. It makes you wonder, if it worked so often in the early game, why did they not stick to the plan?
Yeah, so many times they caught themselves in 5v5 fights. It was all about trying to break the base and never being able to get that Baron. Those are areas where the map does shrink, and you need to be a very experienced team in these split push situations to keep the map split up when going for those crucial objectives, and that's just the next step for Gigabyte Marines. They're not quite there yet.
I think in a lot of ways, old habits die hard. I mean, this is a team that loves to play aggressive and loves to play 5v5. They're like, we're really far ahead. We can force team fights. And they're right, they could with the lead that they had. Just didn't do it the right way. Flash Wolves react well, and the rest is that.
It's another one of those drafts from Flash Wolves where you win in a late game, you walk away. It's like G2 yesterday. It's like, oh yeah,
that game felt fine. We were down 7,000 gold at some point.
We're so good at late game, but then if you look at the early game, like, we should have lost.
Yeah, a lot of stuff Gigabyte Marines did that was super good in the early game.
Well, looking good so far, but a win on the board there for Flash Wolves in the group stage. Now back to the analyst test to break down the win.
Thank you very much, PastryTime. I mean, the Flash Wolves, they narrowly get the victory there in the late game over the Gigabyte Marines, and you guys can breathe a sigh of relief. I was about to have to kick you all off.
I was cheering for him. That was exciting stuff.
I was going to say, let's be real. That was a crazy, exciting game. It's great to see the Gigabytes continue to run at these other teams and even show us some really interesting strategies. Now, whether or not it's ideal, we can get into that. Let's start with team comps here, crafted by both of these teams. We've got that Galio. Jatt mentioned they were banning it in the plans, and now they're playing it themselves. So it shows that they're putting in a lot of work to picking out or bringing out these new picks.
Exactly. This champion just thrives on the current meta of the top lane. The triple Doran's ring works so well for him because this is a champion that was designed to be both a tank and playable as an AP mage. So he has good AP scaling still in the kit. And if people are rushing these 3 rings in the top lane, it gives him really, really good wave clear, really good poke, and then you transition into that tank build so you could be useful tank frontliner for the team later.
But if you think about it, who is he replacing? He's replacing Gragas with like for like. Both of them start with G, both of them top laners, both of them push well. It's
I like
a very
the first point the best.
very, very simple replacement, and it did the same job that they could have returned to in the late game in different ways, but simply it was a good replacement.
So we've talked about the picks a little bit, but now let's get into that fun stuff you're talking about, Kobe. The lane swap coming out of the Gigabyte Marines here, trying to punish Flash Wolves and maybe even catch them off guard. Let's take a look at all this attention that they put into the top lane here and MMD.
Yeah, I mean, originally we were like, oh my god, lane swap, okay. We're trying to find reasons for it. Which lane are they really pressured? Are they trying to get out of this? It really ended up feeling like they were just trying to throw a curveball to the Flash Wolves, get them off their game, and force them into a reactive early game, which it actually worked, you know, and Flash Wolves didn't react in a very clean way, right? You would expect lane swap right now, your immediate reaction is, okay, I'll take that lane swap. We'll go down to the bottom side and get our first turret advantage. However, the Flash Wolves were very indecisive in when they were posed that question.
And this is kind of that nature you're talking about,
yeah,
right, with the
Gigabyte.
Gigabytes.
This could be a disaster because this should be disaster. I think no one told Gigabyte Marines that lane swap doesn't work anymore. Like, if only Flash Wolves committed for that first bot lane turret, I cannot explain how easy it is to like open the game if you get first bot lane turret, and they could just like dominate the game and finish early game.
Right, you're happy to trade that first blood if you're getting first turret out of it at 7 minutes, 6 minutes into the game, and yet that doesn't happen. They leave that turret up with just a little bit of health, and then we see throughout the game, because of the advantages got in the other direction, that Gigabytes, they really can push the pace.
And they didn't even have to trade the first blood for the first turret goal because MMD got out. He went back up there without his flash to go die.
Absolutely. All right, so that's how the game starts.
Yep.
But then, as we've seen in the past with the Gigabyte Marines, that once we get to that mid and late game stages, you've pointed to it as well, that they do struggle to close. And we saw it again here. Flash Wolves playing patiently with their outscaling top, eventually get themselves back into it. But this is aggression by the Gigabyte Marines, a bit too much.
The big takeaway, and remember the best Galio we saw was from SKT, using the Galio to push waves, playing around the side waves. There's no 1-3-1 happening. The minion waves are in the middle of the lane, and Gigabyte Marines only play for the team fight. They never look for the more economical victory or the PvE victory. They focus on fights, and eventually Ezreal is going to free hit. Ezreal hit his item spikes. The front line, the engages are pretty transparent. They don't work, and this is the sort of area where a champion like Ezreal and all the other frontliners will shine, allow the Ezreal to carry, and just over the percentage of plays, it felt like they were just opting into too much risk, too much team fight, and never playing around that split push.
But let's be real here. Even though Flash Wolves got the victory, this is not the way you want to win your first game at MSI. So, but talk to me about this, Dumbledore. What do they need to, because again, they could have gotten an advantage in the early game based on how Gigabytes played, but they didn't make that decision. So there's still a lot of messiness here coming out of the Flash Wolves.
I think this game doesn't really count because of the lane swap. Gigabyte Marines created that chaos and mayhem they wanted to create, and Flash Wolves was surprised. I think they didn't expect this at all. But this game was generally Ezreal doing 1v9, and I think if they just play around their bot lane is really good, they can win more games.
Well, they actually showed some composure there in the victory. Kobe, final thoughts here?
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that there is a team like this in the league, or in the tournament, just to keep people honest in the early game and force you to actually work on your adaptive gameplay.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to take a short break. When we return, we'll hear from the Gigabytes top laner. Then it's back into the action with G2 Esports and Team WE. Stay with us.
We're gonna do it. I mean, I remember this from the lane swap days.
He's still level 1.
MMD, yeah, gonna have to run out of the way. Stalking to tank it up. Archie actually starting it off on MMD. Absolutely dead. Galio, who's gonna come down to the MMD. Knocked up by the ulti and now forced to flush the wall. Stark to flash torn in. Lulu ultimate justice punch. MFD goes down.
There is so much on Flashwolves right now to respond.
Karsa. Oh, there's the arrow! That's an Archie able to get the kill on the other side. Beautiful combo by Gigabyte Marines. Over to the minions and flushes out, but Karsa still there. Benny moving the skill shots in. He's going to try and take it down. He just get the kill, but Benny seals the triple kill. Finally reset, but the catches are too many. Archie goes down to Maple after a realm war. There's another kill as the double picked up. Flashwolves going to take him down, complete the ace, and take down the Nexus. Flashwolves finally on the board here, and MSI